But let's pray together, okay? Father, I want to just pray for this meeting. Pray that your will would be done, that, Father, you would open the door for those that are supposed to go and close the door for those that aren't. And, Father, you would make finances a sweet thing and not a sour thing, and that your will would be accomplished. And I just pray that everyone that wants to could get to the Holy Land and experience it for real. For it's in your name we pray. Amen. Got a quick little 2 or 3 minute, about an 8-minute film for you here on Israel.
For nearly 2 millennia, the promised land of the Bible was a barren wasteland. Its archaeological ruins a reminder of its glorious history. Its people scattered throughout the 4 corners of the world. But towards the end of the 19th century, things began to change. A new wind began to breathe through this land. There is a prophecy in the Bible about God returning a valley of dry bones to life. Many believe this prophecy is unfolding before our very eyes. Today, the nation of Israel is experiencing a dramatic renaissance never before seen in human history. In a land that was barren for nearly 2,000 years, life is bursting forth. Acres of vineyards and olive groves are transforming rocky mountains. From every nation on earth, Christian tourists are coming here by the millions, fulfilling their dreams of walking in the very places where their Savior walked. And most miraculously of all, Israel is once again becoming the home of the once scattered Jewish people. Over the last century, they have returned here by the millions, from the north, south, east, and west. We are living in the times spoken about long ago, the time that this nation would be reborn. Journey with us now to the land of Israel and meet the people who call this place home.
Well, that's what it's all about, is being at the Holy Land. Israel itself is only about 270 miles long, about 85 miles wide. You can drive it in a day, and if you're in a hurry, you can drive back in a day. There's highways that make that possible, super highways. It's about the same distance from Salina to Norman. That's about all it is. So if you're going up to I-70 and going down a little bit past I-40, you've traveled in Israel, okay? We will visit the city of Jerusalem. Don and Jean are in there. Somewhere. Yeah, Don's, the screen doesn't show he's in the back, and Jean's right in front of him there to the right, our right. And well, she's the kind of girl she is. We've arranged to have a free day in Jerusalem. We're going to have a free day to do what you want to. I'll take you on some walking tours if you want to. If you want to go back to a certain places, we'll make sure that you can. But you'll have a free day to wander in Jerusalem if you want to. I think that more and more Christians want to be able to do that. And with cabbies and stuff like that, it's easy to get around and do. This is at Masada, part of Masada and the group there on the Temple Mount. We will go to all of these areas. This is one of the stations of the cross on the Via Dolorosa. It's a chapel that was built in the 3rd century to commemorate. So it is an ancient little building and a nice cool place to sit when we're walking. One of the things that I like to do is I like to offer little side trips, like at night. Say, if you want to go up on the Mount of Olives, we'll rent a van and do that. And go up and take pictures at night. We'll go to the Wailing Wall, which is within walking distance, and take night photographs there, and some of the things that are not a part of the trip. On the free day, I want to take people that want to to the grotto, the cave that they've uncovered in the Garden of Gethsemane, because there is an olive press in that cave, and it does date to the time of Christ. So there's a 100% possibility that Jesus was in that cave at some time or other, celebrating or sleeping and staying there. And it's just really off the beaten path. I mean, it's right there, but no one goes there. And so I like to take people back to that particular place, and we'll do little side trips like that. We've offered sunrise services for those who want to have them on the shore of Galilee and to watch the sun come up over the sea. We will take a boat ride on the Sea of Galilee. We'll use the solar-powered boats. We like them because they're quiet. Don't care about the green, but they're quiet. You don't have to deal with the diesel engines out on the quiet lake. And we'll go out on that and enjoy it. This is up where the tomb of David is, and I like to get all the men around the statue of David and take a picture of them there out on the sea itself. Sometimes it's choppy and sometimes it's like glass. It just depends. The Golan Heights are in the background. We will go to the Golan Heights. There are a lot of places this year that we're going to go that we've not done before. Carol and I did them on our alone trips, but we will go to the city of Dan, and we will see the ancient gate that Abraham walked through. It is the oldest mud brick gate in existence on the planet, and it was around at the time of Abraham. So when Abraham went and rescued Lot, the Philistines had taken him to to Dan, and hid him out there. Then this is the gate he would have gone through. We will see the headwaters of the Jordan River as 33 different springs gush out of the ground and create the Jordan River. We'll see that. We will go to Caesarea Philippi, which is where Jesus said, "Upon this rock I'll build my church, and also the gates of hell shall not prevail against it." We will stand in the gates of hell, as the Romans called it, and as he gestured towards that very area. So we'll go up on the Golan Heights. We will look over into Syria. There may be exercises going on. We might see military exercises, might see military patrols, but we will see how close the battle is and how important the Golan Heights are. When we're in Dan, we will just be a mile from Lebanon, and we will probably go up a little closer to Lebanon and look across the fence and see where Israel's enemies are. And so some places we've not been before, we will definitely go to see. Caesarea on the sea, Caesarea Maritima, Herod's immaculate, incredible palace, the second largest port ever built in the Roman Empire was at Caesarea. And we'll go there and may possibly even have lunch at Caesarea this year. Might offer a seafood lunch there for those that want to have it. We will take time to dip our feet in the Mediterranean. We'll take our shoes off and splash around a little bit and take about a half an hour, 45 minutes there and play in the water. So this is at the Mount of Beatitudes. And we will, of course, be all over that mountain and all over the Sea of Galilee. We'll spend a couple of days in the Sea of Galilee, hitting all of the hot spots. One of the places that we will go will be the new digs at Magdala, which have just been done recently, the place of Mary Magdalene. It has only been open about 4 years, and so it's very rich and very wonderful to see. The mikvahs there still fill with lake water, and they're the cleanest mikvahs in all of Israel because you can see the bottom of the pond. It's just clean lake water that filters up out of the ground. But this is where they found the Magdala stone in the synagogue there. They've uncovered the first century synagogue where Jesus absolutely 100% preached. And there's a stone in the middle of it where they put the scroll, and it is a representation of the temple. And so the people around the Sea of Galilee could have gone there to be close to the temple, even though they're not in Jerusalem. That stone has been gone for restoration, and they had a replica there, but now the actual stone has been returned as of last month. Masada, we will go to Masada, we will go to Qumran, we will swim in the Dead Sea. We'll spend the night there and have a whole afternoon off. Now, the Dead Sea is a spa. It is a international spa. People go there to slap the mud on them to take care of psoriasis and rheumatiz, and it has a lot of healing properties, the world says. Clear back before the Greeks, the tars and the muds were being used for medicinal purposes. And so you can get a massage or a treatment at the hotel and pay for it, or you can go out to the lake and slap it on you for free. So, but if you like massages, if you're sore and from being on the bus and the airplane, stuff like that, this is definitely a place where we'll have an afternoon and you can have a pampered experience if you want to. It's be available at the hotel. This is St. Anne's Church. St. Anne's is right next to the Pool of Bethesda. If you walk out the door, you're standing at the pools of Bethesda, the 7 porticos where the healing came when the water was stirred. St. Anne's Church is a Crusaders church that is 100% fully intact. It was not destroyed by the Crusaders because by the Turks and the Solomon the Magnificent, because he turned it into a hospital for Muslim soldiers. So rather than knock it down, they kept it. And because he kept it, we have it. And it is one of the most beautiful acoustics in all of the Mediterranean. Singers, if we've got a special music singer, we make them sing there. If we've got a choir, we make them sing there. We've been there with African choirs, with Korean choirs, with American choirs. We've been there when recording artists from America have been there and put on a 2-song concert. They try and hold you to 1 or 2 songs so that people can cycle in and out. But a dear friend of mine who was a pastor and a singer, Mr. Ed, did a mini concert there, and they wanted him to keep going, and they let him do more than 2 songs. But it's a beautiful, beautiful place. We'll go there and we'll sing some choruses, and the echo is just alive. It's just made for singing. When we look at Israel, we're going to go from top to bottom. We literally will go up to the top where Lebanon is, all the way down to where Egypt and Saudi Arabia meet on the Red Sea. We will see all of it from here to there. We won't hit every town, but we'll hit every area of it. When we land, we will land at Tel Aviv, which is in the bottom left-hand corner there. Tel Aviv, the Lod Airport, is where the international airport is. We will go up the coastline to Caesarea. We will go on up towards Haifa. Haifa is built on Mount Carmel. So we will go to Mount Carmel, and we'll go to the top of Mount Carmel, which is where Elijah and the Baal prophets and all of that happened. And there is a monastery with a flat roof on top that has viewing stations. It's flat roof with maps that show you what you're looking at. And we will be looking down at Armageddon and the Valley of Megiddo from this spot. You will be able to see the entire valley. Now from Megiddo, you only see about 1/3 of the valley. But from this spot on the mountaintop, you will see all of the Jezreel Valley where the final battle will be. It's a beautiful, beautiful spot and a great picture taking place. We will cross over then towards Tiberias. We will go to Nazareth, we will go to Cana of Galilee, and then end up at the Sea of Galilee, spend time there. We will go north to Lebanon, where the city of Dan is. We will go to the right, which is east, and see the Golan Heights and look across at Syria, and we will travel this area extensively. Now, just below Nazareth, you see Bet Shean. Bet Shean is the best preserved Roman city in all of Israel. They still have a whole street of columns. They still have a complete theater that is completely restored. And so we will see what was it like to be a big Roman city at the time of Christ. They also have a 52-hole latrine there that's still intact. And of course, there are no stalls, there are no walls. It's just open holes in rock with running water underneath. The Romans had a running sewer system. Now, it's not enforced today, but if you want your picture taken on a Roman pot, you can, okay? So it's there. A lot of people like to have their picture taken there. I didn't understand that, but anyway, Bet Shean, and that's going down the Jordan River. We will baptize in the Jordan River near the Sea of Galilee. It's clean, it's fresh, it's nice. There's actually a kibbutz has built a business out of baptism. They have lockers and changing rooms and robes and everything that if you want to do that, you will pay for a rental of a robe for a couple dollars. They'll give you a towel. We'll go out and we'll baptize in the Jordan River, okay? Remember, being baptized in the Jordan is usually a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and once you've done it, you want to do that. Even if you say, well, I was baptized, well, it doesn't erase anything. It doesn't negate anything. It's just a symbol, and it's just a celebration of your baptism in the Jordan River. As we come down, we will get closer to the Dead Sea and Jericho, and we will stop at the spot where probably Jesus was actually baptized. This is the spot where the children of Israel actually crossed the Jordan River on dry land. And it's at the same place that Jesus was baptized. Wonder if there's a story there. Coincidence, huh? So we will go to Kasel Ar-Yod, which is the baptism of Jesus. It's muddy, it's dirty, it's not pleasant there because all of the silt and all of the insecticides and fertilizers have gotten into the river by then. The only group that does a lot of baptizing there is the Russian Orthodox. And the Russian Orthodox baptize themselves. They don't have anyone administer. They get in the water and they dip 3 times, and then they're baptized. And so they get out by the busload and hit that place. We will go to Qumran, where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found. We'll go to Masada. We'll go to the top of Masada, and we'll visit it. We will go down, about halfway down the Dead Sea, where the hotels are. There's one section where all the hotels are located, and we'll stay a night there and get to play around a little bit in that, okay? Then we'll go up to Jerusalem, and we'll spend our days in Jerusalem and get to see all the areas there. One of the days we will go to a place that we've not taken tours before, and that's the Valley of Elah, the place of David and Goliath's battle. We will go to the David and Goliath Valley and see some things between Jerusalem and there, stop and see some stuff. Then we'll come back through Bethlehem. I've not taken a trip to Bethlehem, a group to Bethlehem in a good many, 40 years. But it's incredibly safe right now, and the tour guides are really knowledgeable. And this is a place where we will actually plan shopping. We will plan a few hours of shopping because olive wood is cheap and plentiful there. If you want an olive wood nativity set or a cross or a praying hands or Jesus, this is a place to get it. Also, mother of pearl. There are experts from all over Iran and Iraq who have immigrated here, and mother of pearl work is a dime a dozen there. So if you want a Bible cover or a box or some jewelry box covered in mother of pearl with the Bible scene on the front, these folks do that. So we'll stop there and go to the Church of the Nativity and enjoy Bethlehem, okay? While we're in Jerusalem, we'll see everything. We'll see everything that's possible to see. We'll see the Church of Holy Sepulchre. We'll see the Garden Tomb. We'll see all of it that's available. Your itinerary shows you on a day-by-day basis. Now, again, some days may get switched and some things might get moved one day to another because crowds were big and it took us a long time to get through, but you will see what's on the itinerary. We will see it and get there, okay? Then we head south. When we head south, we're in the Negev, and we're in the place where the children of Israel wandered. This is the wilderness wandering area. There's not even trees there. There's not even scrub brush there. It's dead. It's a dead desert. But in the middle of that desert is a place called Timnah. And Timnah is the ancient copper mines of the pharaohs and Solomon. Long before Solomon, the pharaohs of Egypt were mining copper here. It is so plentiful still today that it's very easy to get out of the bus and pick up a piece of copper ore from the ancient mines of Solomon as a souvenir. And so we will definitely do that. About 4 miles beyond the mines is where the Christian organization has set up a life-size, 100% life-size tabernacle in the wilderness. It has the outer wall, it has the altar, it has the laver, it has the holy place, it has the Holy of Holies, everything. We will get out and be given a complete tour of that area and give you a chance to have pictures and stuff. If you want to take pictures of the tabernacle, because it's in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it's in the desert, and just like it would have been. It's a really beautiful place. That's just above the water on the south there, just above that. And the city that's on the very bottom tip is called Eilat. The city of Eilat is as far south in Israel as you can go before you hit the water. We'll spend the night in Eilat. Depending on what time of day it is, Eilat is considered the 4th most beautiful scuba and dive spot in the world. And it's just right there. I mean, you just leave your hotel, splash across the street, put a mask on. Almost all the hotels have masks, and you can scuba and see the fish and stuff. It's beautiful. Now, the real diving is out a mile into the sea, but you can do a lot right from the shore. And in fact, the shoreline on the Israel side is an underwater national park. So you can go there and maintain, and it's kept clean, and it's policed, and it's very, very pretty. We will cross over then the next day and go into Jordan and go up to what on there is Medine, and that's Petra. We will go to Petra. And you've all seen the pictures of Petra where there's a very, very skinny little opening, and then suddenly you open up into the treasury. That little skinny opening is called the Seek. We will walk the Seek, but I'm telling you right now, for $5 to $10 if you want to ride a horse. We'll look at the water scale there, where in the middle of the darkest desert of all this area, they had fountains and they had gardens year-round. They had running fountains that sprayed in the air to their different gods and stuff like that. And we'll show how the water was stored up high in the mountains and then collected in reservoirs. And out of the rock, they actually carved channels for the water to flow and had gates that they could hold and stop it as they needed to. Incredible engineering, even before the time of Christ, 100 years before the time of Christ. We'll go north then to Amman, Jordan. Amman, Jordan is the capital of Jordan and also has a beautiful, beautiful Roman city right in the middle of it called Jerash, which is in the Bible. It's one of the Decapolis. In the Old Testament, it's called Gerasa or Jerash. And we'll tour that in the afternoon. We'll have time in the afternoon to see that. And then we'll go to our hotel and get rested up for a morning flight then to Cairo. And so we have to fly from an Arab country to an Arab country. When you first get to Israel and you hand them your passport, in any other country in the world, they stamp your passport and it says you were in such a country. When you leave, they stamp an exit visa and shows that you came and went. Okay? In Israel, they won't stamp your passport unless you tell them to, which we will not want to because we want to go to an Arab country. They will put a blue card or a green card in there and stamp it. It will stay with your passport. When you leave the country, they'll stamp the card, take it out, and you can go on. That way you can go to Arab countries. Because if you try and get into an Arab country with an Israeli stamp in your passport, you will not be allowed entrance because they don't recognize the nation of Israel. So why would they recognize the stamp? So we will fly from Amman to Cairo, which they have like 20 flights a day from going from there to there. So we will end up in Cairo. And in Cairo, then, of course, we will see the pyramids and the Sphinx. Now, there are two museums in Cairo. One of them is the old British Museum, which has been the only museum. But recently, about 10 years ago, they began building what was called the Grand Museum. The Grand Museum is on the location site of the pyramids. And the thing about the Grand Museum is they're going to be able to put everything that was in storage at the old museum and pull it out. It's one of those museums that will literally take you days to go through like the Smithsonian does. It's going to have everything that they found. The problem is the Grand Museum will have every piece of tut in it that was found. Right now, you only see about 11% of tuts find when you go to a museum. They're going to have an entire wing that's nothing but tut. The tut himself was put back in his grave. He's back in his tomb. You can't see Tut because he was buried back in his place. So when we go to Tut's tomb, you'll see Tut there. But this is a part of the Grand Museum, and you can see it's still under construction. It's supposed to be done long before Christmas, and they're good. They're right on schedule. I have purchased tickets for both museums. So if the downtown museum's the only one that's open, we got an in. We're going. If the other one is open, we're going. We're going to take it. So, and Egypt will, if we give them about 60 days notice, will refund the ticket money for the other one. So I've got us secured either way. We're going to get to see the good stuff, okay? Whatever happens to be open. Then we're going to take a sleeper train. We're going to get on a train that's got sleeper cars and food cars, and we're going to sleep the night away and wake up in the city of Luxor. which is the Egypt that you picture in your mind. Cairo is just a huge anthill of a modern city, and once you get away from the pyramids, you can't tell you're anyplace else in the world. But Luxor still has horse carriages, still has gaslight in the streets, still has the little boats that paddle across the Falaz, that paddle across the Nile. The Luxor and the Karnak temples are, and we will be given a complete tour of the two temples. Can you imagine columns that big? I mean, columns that are bigger than a pickup truck across, and just 100 of them, in one temple. So we'll get to tour all of that. Then this is what the temple looks like across next to the Nile. It used to flood for big times. They would open canals and flood it, and the boats would actually flow into the temple and let the dignitaries off so they didn't have to touch dirt. La-ti-da. We will cross the Nile here on boat and come across to the other side. You can see Luxor down at the bottom. We'll cross the Nile and we will go out to El Kharajah. And El Kharajah is known as the Valley of the Kings. This is where all the tombs of the pharaohs are. But we will see Ramses, we will see Ramses II, we will see Tut. We will go into all of their tombs and see the hieroglyphics, the carvings. And then we will see one of the highlights of the trip, and that is Queen Hatshepsut's tomb. And it is fully, completely restored. Most of it was still intact when they uncovered it from the desert. They had to rebuild some of the stairs, and some of the statues up front had to be repaired. But for the most part, it's pretty much intact. And that's what you call a burial spot right there. That's a grave. Now, Israel, Jordan, and Egypt, costs are actually down right now on land. Hotel, food, tour groups are actually down because so many companies went bankrupt during COVID. They are scrambling to fill. When we went a few years ago with a small group, with the 6 that we took who had been there, we took a group for people who had been there before and wanted to go back a second time to do things. The cost for Israel, that tour, are exactly the same of Israel, Jordan, and Egypt right now. We're getting Jordan and Egypt for the free, conceivably. We're paying the same price, which is about $3,300 to $3,500. Well, I'm hedging my bet because I'm negotiating hotels right now. And some of the hotels I want are a couple $100 more, okay, overall. But I want to make sure that we get a hotel in Jerusalem that's close enough to walk to the old city. $3,300 and $3,500. That does not include airfare. Right now, no tour company is dealing with airfare. We're going to have to do that on our own. I'm going to have to do that. I've got a couple of Israeli companies that are willing to help me put that together. And we will also have to come up with domestic airfare. We'll have to get to the East Coast, wherever we fly out of, okay? Now, usually I try and do that as a group. Everybody in the Oklahoma area, we go as a group, and we get up at 6 in the morning, we go to Tulsa, and we catch a flight and go to Newark. Newark is cheaper to fly out of, has more flights, and because we have to pay the New York taxes, it's a lot cheaper to fly out of Newark. And because of that, Newark's a lot busier going overseas than a lot of LaGuardia and some of the JFKs. So we'll try and go and get the very cheapest that we possibly can. I like to take non-stop flights. Now, the bad part of that is you're in an airplane for about 14 hours. You are stuck in a tube. And if you get the heebie-jeebies because you can't walk around, it's going to be a problem. I want you to know that right up front. But you can get up, you can walk the aisles, you can pace, you can move around. But yes, your clothes are going to get sticky. It is about anywhere from 12 to 14-hour flight. I like direct flights for one reason. Your luggage gets there. If you stop in Frankfurt, if you stop in Amsterdam, if you stop in Paris, your luggage has to change airplanes to get to another company. And Europe is not real good at luggage, and they're really not good at catching up with you if they lose it. You may be home a week before your luggage appears again. If we have to, we have to. If we have to, that's what we'll do. But the downside is if we stop in Europe, you get to get out and stretch and, and you're not in an airplane for all those hours. You add 3-4 hours to your trip because you're waiting for a layover. So there's a plus side to both and there's a downside to both. But if I have my druthers, I'm going to shove you into an airplane, going to shut the door, and we're going to get there, okay? However we have to do there. And the flights, because we have some people from other states that are looking to go, we'll let them arrange and meet us wherever we're departing from their state, and they'll meet us in the Newark airport or wherever we decide to fly out of. But most of us will try and go by group here because we can save some money in a group flight. And that's what we'll do there. I'm working on that right now. I'm working on it. It's, of course, international flight round trip, going to 3 different countries. We're probably talking $1,500 to $3,000 on top of that for round trip flights. So we're talking anywhere from $4,000 to $6,000 total on the trip. A break even to what it's been to go to Israel alone for the last 10 years. It's been $4,000 to $4,800 to go to Israel, and that's with airfare. So it's very, very close to a break even of where we've been. We are working the free day into Jerusalem, which is another hotel the night that we've factored in. We'll be staying in hotels that are better than what we usually stay out here in the States. They're a little nicer. Now understand that the rooms are going to be rather small. They're not like you see in Japan, but they're not spread out with tables and stuff like that. But that's because they're trying to get as many people into the country as they can, and it's also the European style. The Europeans say you're in the hotel to sleep, not to lounge around. And we certainly won't have time to lounge around in the hotel. Elevators are made for 1 or 2 people only. But that's all over Europe. You're just going to run into that. You and your luggage may not be able to get on the elevator at the same time, It's really, really small. The meals are buffet breakfast, huge buffet breakfast, more food than you can eat buffet breakfast. And if you want to stick some fruit in your purse before you leave for the day, you've paid for it. It's not considered gauche. It's not considered theft. It's considered part of the buffet service. So a lot of people grab a box of cereal, Frosted Flakes, and throw them into their pack or something for the day. That's okay. That's accepted. Now don't take a buffet with you. But if you grab 2 or 3 things for the day, you might have your lunch paid for. Lunches are not paid for. We will stop in places where you have 1 or 2 places to buffet. Please remember, you are the foreigner. I did have a guy who came up to me and said, I thought I'd enjoy this trip a lot more than I am. And I said, why don't you enjoy it? He said, so many foreign people. And then he got all upset about the food. He said, when are we going to get a hamburger? When are we going to get a steak? And I said, when you get home. You'll get both of those when you get home. Not now. You're not going to get it now. So it will be Middle Eastern food. It will be European food. There will be lots of European dishes, French dishes, and Italian will be served because it's Mediterranean. You're not going to get anything weird, like bugs and worms and stuff like that. It's just foreign food. And if you can't handle it, you'll love it.
Food I love.
They eat so much cheese and they eat so much fresh vegetables. Remember, Israel is the breadbasket of Europe. If you go to a 5-star European Michelin restaurant and you have vegetables and fruit, it's probably Israeli. It's probably Israeli fruits and vegetables.
Fish and stuff like
Yep.
that. Yes.
Yep. Yeah, on the Sea of Galilee, we'll actually have a fish dinner of St. Peter's fish, which is the tilapia that grows wild in the Sea of Galilee. And you can have it whole with the head and the tail and everything on it. They'll bake it. Or you can have a fillet. You can have it either way. They'll fillet it for you and just give you a fish fillet. But it's really mild and really tasty. There's nothing fishy about it at all. We're looking at a group of 20 to 24. Right now we have about 15 that are pretty much committed to the trip. So we're a little more than half committed to the trip. By September, October, we have to put down a $350 non-refundable deposit. I am not taking that until we get 20 people. I don't want to take a deposit and not be able to give it back to you and then I'll be able to have the trip. And that's the way deposits work. So we are waiting till the last minute to collect the deposits. Once we reach 24, 1 or 2 people may have to fall out, and that still gives us 24-hour tour. That's great. That's why I'm shooting for 24, so we'll have a little overbook. okay? And if somebody gets sick and can't go, then it's okay. All you'll be out is the $350. The balance is refundable 100% up to 30 days before departure. So during the winter, while you make your payments to the tour company, you send them to the tour company directly, and it'll go right into your account and pay it off. If within 30 days of departure you need a refund, you'll get it. No questions asked. After 30 days, for about a week, you get a sliding scale down, and then no refund. You'll have to have that. But because of that, we recommend trip insurance. Trip insurance is if there's an act of war, if there's a tornado, if your luggage gets lost, if the airplanes don't fly for some reason, you lose 3 days of your trip. We did lose 1 day last time we were out because in Tulsa, they couldn't find a pilot to fly our airplane to Newark. They couldn't find a pilot that didn't have free hours. And so we waited a whole day to get out of Tulsa. Once we got out of Tulsa, we got everybody out. Yeah, we flew all everywhere. I got people out. Believe me, I will work for you. But we got everybody out. I had people go through London, Paris, Frankfurt, and Amsterdam.
Have you ever walked in?
And they all got to Israel within an hour of each other.
You could fly into Tel Aviv, but when you go to the Saudi countries or whatever, how are they flying back here?
Again, we're going to fly out of Cairo.
Out of Cairo.
We'll fly out of Cairo we'll fly from Cairo to the States, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All the American carriers fly out of Amman and Cairo.
Well, right now, they're like, Gaza, what they're doing right now with the bombings and stuff.
Yeah.
Missiles. I know that happens sporadically.
Yeah.
So what happens if that happens, like when we're there or whatever?
Yeah, the biggest thing is everybody's used to it. I mean, the Iron Dome works. The question for those of you, what happens if like Gaza shoots missiles while we're there and stuff like that? I have been in the old city one time when there was gunfire. Someone on the Temple Mount shot a gun. We were on the Via Dolorosa. And I'm telling you, before the echo of the gunshot, our guide had us in doorways and ducked. They are trained like SWAT team to take care of their people. And if something like that happens, every shop owner throws open the doors for you to get in. I mean, it's just automatic. And so you just step inside, and then you hear an all clear, and you come back out. 1 time out of 10 that we've had that happen. But as far as the missiles and stuff like that with the Iron Dome, they're not shooting at Jerusalem because that's where the Dome of the Rock is. And they're not shooting at Galilee because there's nothing industrial there, or nothing worried about there. They're shooting at Tel Aviv. That's where they're firing, is towards Tel Aviv. We're not even going to spend the night in Tel Aviv. We'll be there during the day, and the Iron Dome takes care of that. My biggest concern is that we can go out at night and walk freely where we want to, and all of our hotels are located in places where that's not a problem. Just not a problem. You'll find that, there may be an occasional stabbing. You see on the news that some crazy guy stabbed somebody, but they're stabbing Jews wearing yarmulkes with the curls on the front, and they're trying to make a statement. They're certainly not going after tourists. Tourists have not been hurt in Israel since the 80s. No, they just haven't been hurt since the 80s. They try and skirt around the tourists as much as they possibly can. So, because it's their bread and butter too. But if something were to break out before the 30 days, I would definitely put a halt on things. I'm not going to take a trip where people are in danger. We would put a complete stop to it. So, and I mean, let's say a worst scenario. You're in Paris and war breaks out. Well, okay, you fly home from Paris. If war breaks out and we're in Israel, we fly home from Israel. It's just what you do. Anything can happen anywhere, but it's unlikely. But they have contingency plans for us. It's not anything we have to worry about. Other questions? Anything else? Once we get the trip, we'll have at least 2 more meetings, where I'll give you a list of clothing you should bring, snacks and food you might want to bring, just granola bars and stuff like that to supplement your day if you want to. We'll give you lists of all the do's and the don'ts and what to bring and what not to bring. And I will give you a list of costs that are above and beyond Unfortunately, Israel and the Middle East is still stuck mentally in the old English colonial period sometimes. And when those English lords and ladies would come and they would tour, a ritual last night was always celebrated where they tipped their guides. Well, the guides have continued to do that because it's to their advantage. And so it's about $100 tip for 10 days or 11 days, $10 a day for your guide. Yes, they're being paid to do their job, yes. But for the little things they do to help us along the way, and they will, the guides will be more in charge of the trip than I will. But then the guide, if I want to say something or teach something, I'll just say, Gila, I want to talk there, and she'll step aside. So we will do it together, but about $100 tip at the end of the trip. There will be some visa charges that we have to pay for Jordan that they will not take in America. They just will not. You have to pay them at the border crossing. But I think there's like a $15 charge for visa to get across the border crossing of Jordan. That's not included in the trip because we can't contract that out. So altogether, you might end up with $200 and $250 out of pocket. And then what you decide for lunches and stuff like that. Yeah, laundry's everywhere, and they'll launder for you. They have washer dryers in most of the hotels. They have hair dryers. They've got everything that you need. If you're going to take a razor or a hair dryer or a curling iron or something like that, just about everything sold in the United States after the past 10 years has been multiple voltage. It'll be 110 to 220 there, 220 there, 240. And all you have to do is buy a $4 plug that yours plugs into, and it plugs in, and it'll automatically adapt, and no problem. For $4, you can be international for your razors or whatever. But some of that stuff, like hair dryers and stuff, are pretty much automatic in all the hotels, just like they are here. Very modern. No smoking hotels. There's no smoking. All the hotels will have very expensive and very elaborate little soaps. I mean, European grades of soaps and spa types and towels and stuff like that. Now in Europe, this is true of all of Europe, towels are small. They're small. They're not the big, huge American bath towels like we have. You know, you take the bath towel and go,
Where's the rest of it?
yeah, this is a hand towel, yeah. So they're a little small. And nowhere in Europe or the Middle East do you find washcloths. If you like to wash with a washcloth, take a couple with you, because they don't know what that is. They have no concept of washcloths.
They do have toilet paper, right?
Toilet paper is really good, yeah, toilet paper. Now, 40 years ago when we went to Lebanon, the toilet paper was what you and I would call crepe paper. It was crepe paper like at the craft store. And if you used it, your hand was going to be dirty. Yeah, it just didn't work at all. But that's all they had in Lebanon. That's Arab toilet paper. But everything that we stay at will be very modern, very up to date, very up to class, and it'll be easy to do. So, other questions? Anything else I can answer for you? Those of you out in video land, tag me or text me your questions and I'll address them. But right now we're looking at this month. We have to get our trip full. We have to get our 20 to 24 filled up, and then we will need deposits very quickly, because if we don't get them in by October, they won't guarantee the rooms and stuff. We'll have to start from scratch. So you might be putting the money away so the trip makes, you'll be ready to pay it immediately, and we'll get that taken care of. And then through the rest of the winter, you can make payments as you choose. They just have to be in about 90 days before we leave. Got to be there about 3 months before, or else they're going to worry about you fulfilling your contract. Right now, we're looking at June 1st through about the 16th to 17th, depending on that extra day. We're looking at 16, 17 days for 3 countries.
What is the weather like that?
Just like, it's very close to America.
To what, like Oklahoma?
To here, to Oklahoma. We are the same latitude as Jerusalem. Okay, the only difference in the weather in Israel is that they have mountains and they have low spots and they have in-betweens. So even though Red River is about the same latitude as us, it's a lot colder because it's higher.
Right.
Jerusalem's going to be colder.
Yeah.
Dead Sea's going to be hotter. The Sea of Galilee, most people don't realize until you look at the map, Sea of Galilee is actually below sea level and is in the hole, and yet it's the garden spot of Israel. And very, very pretty there. So overall, the temperature is about the same. That's what we have here, and the weather's about the same. Winters, summer, spring, about the same as Oklahoma. So, and we'll give you a list of clothing and say 3-4 pairs of shorts, 3-4 shirts. That's it. That's it. Don't pack a lot more than that. And you can tell I can't get full of it. I just love it. I just love it. But
What I said earlier about the Dead Sea, you're standing up like Steve is right now. You pick up your leg and all, you're going on your back.
yeah,
Because it's so salty and flat.
Yes.
you cannot sink. You cannot sink in the Dead Sea.
Across the Dead Sea to Jordan.
Yep.
I heard that, but I'm still.
Wait till you feel it.
Because
It is something else.
You should have seen us try and get John Wadle back on his feet.
Yes.
It was like the Keystone
You
Cops.
have to go back toward the shore and get on your knees and walk out there and everything because you cannot stand up.
When he got out there, his legs went up, his body went back, and I thought, oh no. Because you have to be very careful. You don't want the sea of the Dead Sea in your eyes or your mouth.
Right.
It's too salty, it'll burn your eyes. I mean, it'll burn them. And it'll burn your mouth. And so, but they have showers on this side that you rinse off as much of the salt as you can before you go in. But it took 4 or 5 of us to get him up because he was so buoyant.
It's one weird feeling. You get into that thing and all, and you're going along about that time.
Yep.
Down you go.
You will be shocked
Foot too high.
at how thick the water feels and how you can't sink. Annette Griffith is a dear friend of ours from the singles group, and Annette will float like a bobber on fresh water. And I said, when we get her to the Red Sea, you're going to walk across it. You're going to be able to walk. She really floats, but it was a fun trip. All right, no more questions? Let's call it a night then. Thank you for coming. Take your itinerary if you want to look at it and pray about it. See if it's something you can do. If you want to do, our rule of thumb is we're very careful about people going into debt. You know that. But the rule of thumb for Israel is if you have to borrow the money or use a credit card, and if you can legitimately pay it off in 1 year, then it is probably worthwhile. But if you can't, if you honestly can't do it, then you ought to pray about it and wait and save up some money to do it otherwise. But because we don't want people going into debt over a trip.
And like if you go this year, next year, I mean, and then when do you plan on going again the next time? Or is it
Honestly, I don't know.
the-
Yeah, we're getting into our mid-70s and putting this whole thing together and traipsing over
Right.
is not looking as easy as it used to. It's fun,
Yeah.
but it's not as easy.
You better.
Well, I mean,
And the one thing I will tell you to prepare for Israel, you must be able to walk 3 miles a day.
well, you're talking about the 14-hour trip on the plane would be the
Yeah.
tough one.
Yeah, you got to be able to walk 3 miles, and you've got to be able to walk stairs.
So,
Stairs are important because you got to get on and off the bus.
so on the flight, after you get through that 14-hour flight, how do you feel? I mean, physically.
Well, usually you're jazzed up because of the adrenaline flowing, and it's morning in Israel, and it all kicks. About 4 in the afternoon, you die. And that's when we take you back to the hotel.
All night. You get
Yeah, when we get you there, you'll sleep well.
Don't wake me up.
But no, it's, people are so jazzed up to be there and get on the bus and take off. All righty.
Yeah.
It's what a lifetime experience. There's absolutely nothing like being able to read the Bible and picture the spot. I mean, if I say the courthouse square and the gazebo, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If I say driving through Dover on Highway 81, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If I say driving down the Rue des Champs in Paris, I got no idea what you mean. I'd have to look it up in a picture. But just imagine grabbing your Bible and saying Jericho and seeing it in your head. The Red Sea, seeing it. Jordan River, seeing it. Sea of Galilee, seeing it.
I didn't realize that.
Makes the Bible alive.
That Jordan would let you go in there, as much as say, like you said, we can go in the Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan has got a friendly relationship with Israel. It's a love-hate relationship
Well,
because of the Dome of the Rock. They're in charge of the Dome of the Rock, and so they have to be mean because the Palestinians and Hamas require it. But if it were not for the factions of Hamas and those guys, Jordan and Israel would be friends. But they have to maintain their brothers and cousins, so. All right. Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate you coming out on a Sunday.
They all want to go last. Being able